Right here. Today we are going to replace the oil on the Fiesta. Now this particular Fiesta is the 1 liter EcoBoost, so we went with a GTX Magnatech oil. Now that's been, based on my reading, the recommended oil for this motor. Basically it's created to stick to the side of the cylinder walls, so when you first start up the motor you're not running it dry. So we have that. That's about 4.3 quarts that are going to need to go into this. So if you just buy a little 5-quart jug, you should be good. And then we also went with the standard Motorcraft oil filter, and we're going to replace both. So both of the drain plug and the filter are on the back of the motor. So jack up your Fiesta, and we're going to get started. With changing the oil, preparation is everything. Whenever you're working with fluids, just have a few things set up for yourself to make it a lot easier. Always have a rag, and obviously set down something for if you have spills. It's just easy to clean up. I'm using just a big piece of cardboard. I always like to wear gloves as well. I really don't like oil on my hands, and I mean if you do like oil on your hands, whatever, that's cool. I don't judge. But for me, I'm going to wear gloves, and then have all the tools you need. Before getting underneath the car, just makes things go a lot smoother, a lot easier. So we're going to get underneath. We're going to take off the drain plug, which is a 13 millimeter, and let it drain out. All right. Now underneath the car, make sure that you have your drain pan ready. And again, I have some cardboard underneath here as well in case we have spills. And the drain plug is actually right in the very bottom of the motor in the back. So you have to excuse the kind of crummy camera angle. There's not a whole lot of room under here, but your plug's here, and the oil filter is up top. You should be able to see it from that angle. So we're just going to loosen the plug. All right, there we go. Now, before you start to take it out, which I still need this, there we go. Make it finger loose, and then get your drain pan underneath so it's ready to catch the oil. Now, when it first starts to drain, it might kind of shoot out. So you just want to push your drain pan a little further back so that the drain plug is kind of in the first third of the drain pan. So take it out. There we go. Let it drain. And what we're going to do is we're going to let it drain like this for a minute or two, and once it gets low, we're actually going to get up and we're going to take the top off of the oil filler cap, all right, and then we're going to lower the car a little bit, because when it's jacked up like this, a lot of oil is going to be resting on one side, right, the lower side of the vehicle. So we're going to get up, we're going to lower the car and take off the cap to make sure that we get every last bit of oil out. So when lowering cars for oil changes, especially ones that are this low to the ground already, make sure you're not going to crush your oil drain pan, right? And then also keep in mind that when you're lowering it, you're actually moving where the drain plug sits in relation to the drain pan itself. So make sure the drain pan's kind of nice and centered underneath the plug, and then start to lower your car. But just watch underneath and make sure you're not lowering it too far to actually crush the drain pan. So we're just going to lower it. All right, looks like it goes all the way down. And then also just make sure that you take your oil fill plug out, and then we'll just wait a few minutes for it to stop draining. Okay, we are back underneath the car, and the mass majority of the oil is out, so we're pretty much good to go. So at this point, just make sure that the contact where the actual oil plug touches the sump, that it's nice and clean, and then just put your plug back in. All right. Awesome. And then we can just tighten that back down. Okay. Great. Wipe that off, really for no other reason than to make sure that if you do have a leak, it's easy to see, and it's not just oil that was there before, okay? So now that that's done and we have all of our oil out, we need to address the oil filter, which is up here. Now, this might be a little tough, so you want to make sure that of two things, that your eyes are either covered, protected, or they are certainly out of the way of any oil that might spill down here, all right? These can tend to get messy. So yet another reason for a drop cloth as well. So up here is the oil filter, and you just want to get your grip on it, start to loosen it. Okay, easy enough. Now get your drain pan ready, kind of get it in place, and start to take off the filter. All right, now you're bound to get drips, and that's all right, like right here. Once it starts to drain, just let it. All right, let it sit a minute or two, and just let it get its draining out of the way. If you try to take it off while it's draining, you're just going to create a bigger mess. All right, so we'll let that sit, let it drain for a minute, and then we'll take it the rest of the way off. Okay, well, we're down to a drip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of work my hand around this way to try to avoid all the oil, and just back it out the rest of the way, and just make sure that you have a finger underneath it to make sure that when it does kind of fall, so to speak, it doesn't drop onto any of your other parts. So there we go, it's loose, and you want to hold it in an upright position. Obviously, because you're still going to have oil in it no matter what. So keep it in an upright position, and for me, I just turn it over into my drain pan and let it sit. So once this is finished doing its final draining, we are going to put the new filter on, and then we're already done underneath the car. The rest is up top. Now, before putting the new filter on, we want to make sure of a few things. So we have our old filter here, and here's our new filter. Now, what you want to make sure of is that, first of all, that when you took off the old filter, that this gasket came with it, okay? You want to make sure this is here. If for whatever reason it popped off and is still sitting on the back of the block, you really want to make sure that that's off of it. Secondly, we don't want to put this on dry, all right? So we want to get some new oil out of the oil we bought and just kind of run it around this rim to make sure it's moist. That way it's going to seat to the motor better, and it's going to reduce the chance of a leak. So with your new oil, just kind of grab a finger, dip it in there, and just wipe it around this rim. Okay, just a little bit more. You just want to make sure that the whole entire ring is wet. There we go. Good, so like that. Just make sure it's moist. So now that we have the new filter kind of lubed up, so to speak, we're going to go back in, spin it on, and all we need to do after that is just kind of wipe down the back of the motor, make sure we don't have oil everywhere. And then we just fill it back up. Here we are under the car again, and you just want to reach up and just clean the contacts of where your oil filter is going to touch the motor. You kind of just have to feel for it, unfortunately. It's really tough to see. And then just kind of generally wipe down where the oil kind of spilled down the back of the motor. Once you have that, grab your new filter, properly lubricated, put that into place, and spin it on. Now, don't go crazy tightening this. It doesn't have to be really tight. Just tighten it till you're good and tight with your hand. Don't worry about getting a filter wrench and really ranking on it. Just there we go. Spin till you're kind of comfortably tight with your hand, and then touch up any spots you didn't get before with the rag. And that is it. Let's go up top and fill it back up. Okay, we're back up top, and I went ahead and took out the oil filler cap, which should have already been out, and I got a funnel, dropped it in, and now technically you can live without a funnel, but it's going to be a heck of a lot easier and probably a lot cleaner if you do use one. So drop a funnel in, and we're going to get close to our 4.3. All right, so we have all of our quarts over here. This is a 4.5 quart. So we're going to get close to the bottom, and then we're going to check it before we continue topping it off. So just go ahead and start filling. We're going to do the majority of it here. Well, our indicator is getting pretty low. It's near the very bottom. So what we're going to do is take our dipstick, grab it up, and kind of see where we go. So when you're checking, just clean it off first. Don't even check it the first time. So clean it off first, put it back in, bring it out. Okay, so we are between the two marks. Now, you probably won't end up being able to see it, but you have a mark here, that's your max, that's your minimum. And so you just want it in between those two. So we are between those two, but that does not mean that we're done. So what I'd like to do is just run the car a little bit, make sure that the oil kind of gets into the system, and then make sure that we're not low. So we're gonna slap this back in, set this aside, put our cap back on, and then just go start the motor for a minute or two, let it run, and then we'll come back and check again. Okay, so I ran it for about 2 minutes, and then I let it sit for about another minute to kind of let everything settle again. And then we're gonna go ahead and check again and see where we're at. So again, when you're checking, just wipe it off the first time right away. And then jump back in here. There we go. Check it out. And sure enough, we are low. We are below the minimum. So we're just going to top it off the rest of the way. Get our funnel back. Put another about, I don't know, half quart, maybe a little less. Okay. Feels good. Wait a minute for everything to kind of settle, and then check again. All right, we are in dead center. So looking good. Go ahead and button everything back up, and we only have one more small thing to do. Okay, so we are inside the ride, and we need to reset our little wrench on our dash that says that we need to do the oil change. So to do that, what you need to do is get both your feet over the accelerator and brake pedal, and then put your key into the on position. Don't go to start it, just in the on position. And then once the car is in the on position, push both the accelerator and the brake at the same time. And after a few seconds, it's going to say like service light reset in progress or something like that. So we're going to do that. You let it sit, keep holding it until it says, reset done. So here we go. We're going to turn it on. Hit the accelerator and the brake at the same time. And wait for it to start resetting. Let's see here. Taking its time. Okay, so I went ahead and held it down for about 25 seconds, and it said that it was supposed to say something on the screen. It did not, but the wrench went away, and it's not saying I need an oil change anymore. So what I'm going to do is turn it back off and just verify that it actually went away. So open the door. I should kind of shut everything off. 1 hour mode. Come on. There we go. Flip it back on. Let's just start it too, just to be sure. All right, so the wrench is gone and it is not complaining about an oil change, so it looks like it worked. This is one particular Fiesta. There are different kinds, different models, different motors, but this was outlined right in my owner's manual. So if this doesn't work for you, then just check out your owner's manual, and it's listed under changing the oil. So look it up, and it should have that reset process. It may be different for you. So other than that, that's it. So everything's finished, and our oil is changed in the Fiesta. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, go ahead and just put them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys.